Hello. I have made it no secret that I have issues with Wicca. In all of my dealings online with Wicca, a lot of it seems to be a lot of this unbalanced, eclectic, sunshine and sugar stuff that just makes me sick. And I've been trying to find a way to express this. And yesterday I read a couple of very, very interesting articles, and I realized that they can be just changed just a little bit, and they will fit into what my issues are with Wicca. The two articles were talking about the decline of the American higher education system, how the students have become coddled. They have been turned into these emotional wrecks. They are not prepared for the real world. They are wanting these safe spaces and trigger words. They look for microaggressions and negative filtering and no platforming. So let's begin. The first thing is, how did we get here? And it's pretty simple, actually. It's about childhood and parenting. You see, if you were born before 1980, you were kind of a free-range kid in most cases. You were expected to find something to do, something to occupy your time. You were outside playing with your friends, okay? Doing this, we learned social skills, thinking for ourselves, and responsibility. Parents were there, to grab Band-Aids, do the disciplining if they needed to, food, check up on us occasionally. But they weren't there with the collars and the leashes going, don't go too far, don't go too far. I don't see you, where are you? Creating this protective bubble. So there is a major difference between my generation and the millennial generation. You see, I was free-ranged. I could spend all day at a friend's house playing outside, grabbing sticks, using them for swords and all that. As long as nobody got hurt, it was good. But as crime increased and child abductions became common, children were pulled closer and closer to home. These children were then thrown into rooms where the TV and video games were used to occupy their mind. Thus, the kids did not learn how to think for themselves, how to create their own fun, because they depended on the video game or the DVD to entertain them. And because they were forced into these little rooms, they lacked social skills. They did not learn to interact with people. So they did not learn how to interact with somebody who thought differently. Well, I don't like this game, I'll change it. I don't like this, I'll do something different. But they never had to compromise with somebody else who wanted to do that something different. The parenting also changed. And this is what I think is a lot of it. Millennial parents decided that they wanted to be their kids' friend, that they wanted to have close personal relationships with their children. They stopped being the parents. And because of this, there were inconsistent rules, because parents only were parents when they absolutely needed to be. This just destroyed any form of responsibility, and it hampered thinking skills, because you didn't know, do I do this today? Yes or no? I don't know. It all depends on what type of mood mom and dad's in. Yay. With the violence increasing in laws, schools enforced a zero-tolerance policy. You know, where if you drew a gun on a piece of paper or pulled your fingers out and made a gun symbol, you could be suspended for school. And the message that this taught was that adults will create a safe zone to protect you from all harm. You know, the world's a dangerous place, and we're going to do everything we can to remove it from you. We will make those safe zones for you. And that's where it all started, in my opinion. The world is dangerous and corrupt. There are no safe zones. By sheltering ourselves from harshness, we do nothing to change it. To overcome mental fears, people must confront these issues and grow stronger. Okay? Because a basic tenet of philosophy is, it states, helping people with anxiety disorders, avoiding the things they fear, is misguided. The article that I read, it gave an example of somebody who was afraid of elevators. And in the process of getting her over the fear, they had her get moved just inside of an elevator. And then as she got accustomed to it, she moved a little bit closer and closer and closer. She handled her fear. They did not say, okay, we'll just keep you away from elevators and hey, situation solved. Nothing solved by removal. Microaggressions are small actions or word choices that seem to have no ill intent, but are perceived as violent nonetheless. So, a poor choice of words and a person, like myself, could be considered to be negative. Uh-oh, there's those darn trigger words. So we better get into those trigger words. Trigger warnings are alerts professors are expected to give if something in the topic might create an emotional response. Negative is a word that a lot of our millennial Wiccans don't want to hear because they shun negativity, because that violates their safe space. Now, why would I say Wicca? Well, that's because of the Wiccan rede. I have seen young Wiccans all over the place keep on saying, harm none, harm none. And you see, that's their ideal of the safe spot. Well, we're harming none. So this is a Wicca zone. We are going to harm none. And it is so unrealistic, so unpagan. It is absolutely pathetic to me. Now, I say it's unrealistic because of this. Paganism is the neo-paganism, that's what we are, is the belief in trying to follow our ancestors the best way we can. Okay? Our ancestors had to fight. You could not go harm none and expect to live. I follow the the Celtic path because I'm Scottish. All right. The Celts were great warriors. They're known for their being fierce warriors. They believed in individual combat, opposed to the Roman in formation fighting. Those darn Celts, man, they were brave because they believed that there was a magic of fighting nude, and sometimes would go into battle stark-ass naked with a sword and shield, and they would attack in individual combat against the Romans or anybody else who thought that they should cross them. Harm none. No. It's not pagan. It's not historically accurate. People had to eat. So the ancient people, any ancient people, and even people today, have to kill to eat. So, and it's a biological fact. For us to continue to exist, something else must die to provide nourishment for us. So if you want to say harm none, then you must go on a starvation diet, but I know you're not going to. And I know that a lot of you are going to go, but I'm vegan. I don't harm anybody. And you're full of shit. Recent study in Missouri has proven that plants do feel pain. They know when they're being eaten. The nice thing about the carnivores, at least, is they wait for their animals to be dead before they eat them. So when you're picking an apple straight off the tree and eating it, you're taking a life form while it's still alive and ripping parts of its body off. Harm none, my ass. So this is irrational to think that you can harm none. Colleges work to develop critical thinking skills. It encourages students to question their own unexamined beliefs as well as the received wisdom of those around them. Such questioning can lead to discomfort and anger, but ultimately it leads to an understanding the world better. And that's a wonderful thing. Vindictive protectiveness, which is what basically Wicca and the safe zones do, teach a different way to think. It doesn't prepare a person for a professional world which demands intellectual engagement with people and ideas one might find wrong. This may teach students to think pathologically or in a distorted way of reality. And so you see, that's the problem. Because people have this distorted view that, well, I'm not eating animals, I'm an uprighteous person. But any life form is a life form, right? You want to value life, then you have to value all life. And so harm none does not work. And the mentality that they have now is they are taking emotional as well as physical as in harming people. Let me find my notes on this one. Emotional reasoning is letting your emotions guide your reality. This dominates many campuses and discussions today. A claim that someone's words are offensive is not only an expression of your own offendedness, it is a public charge that the speaker has done something wrong. It is to demand that the speaker apologize or be punished by an authority figure. People believe that they have the right not to be offended. In the 1980s, campus started focusing on preventing offensive speech. The thin argument, I'm offended, became the unbeatable trump card. Emotional reasoning is now evidence and a weapon. So, in my dealings with Wiccan people, I have had multiple points where I tried to make a rational thought. I was trying to explain how I determine things on a cognitive thinking level. And the people would be making comments like, I'm negative. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is offensive. We shouldn't talk to him. Everything that I've been talking about is that mentality here. Because all it takes is one person to go, he's negative, then all of a sudden everybody joins in on that. And there's a reason why. Okay. The reason why. A principle of moral philosophy is morality binds and blinds. When we take a moral stand, we join that team. but that can interfere with our ability to think critically. Acknowledging the other side's point of view, and you risk being seen as a traitor. Okay? So, what happened to me on many different times is I've made a few videos that were questionable. And all of a sudden, you get one person that says I'm negative, one person that claims offensive, then here comes the team. You'll have 50 some people coming over there and berate you. Even though you made a valid point that is logical, that is cognitive, their emotional reasoning is enough to go, shun him, ignore him, he's not worthy of us. Cognitive thinking therapy is the modern treatment for depression and anxiety disorders. Unlike drugs, this therapy will continue to work because it teaches thinking skills that never stop working. The goal is to reduce distorted thinking and see the world more accurately. With time, it becomes automatic, and you free yourself of irrational thoughts. Cognitive thinking develops critical thinking skills, which is the goal of high education. One of the other problems I have with Wicca, I'm going to throw this in here real quickly, is the control of free speech in circles, in these pagan groups and all that. Control free speech in circles because the comment could be harmful. We must honor all speech, including the opposition, if we truly honor free speech. No platform closes dialogue. For the purpose of safety, no platform is censorship dictating who is allowed to speak. Two sides cannot work together if one isn't allowed to speak. No platforming has been growing a large base lately. I've seen a lot of feminist articles in where they're going, if there is no women that are willing to speak about a subject, nobody can speak. They're going to let the women speak first, or nobody speaks at all. You cannot have an actual discussion with anybody if you're only going to allow one side to speak. And I see this in Facebook so much fucking whining by a lot of people, and it just makes me sick. This is my page. I can post whatever I want, and only people that agree with me can post here. No, that's not how it works. It's called social media, which means that society can view it. Society can leave a comment. If you cannot handle my point of view, go back home to mommy and daddy, girl. Because guess what? There are people out there that are worse than me. Okay? You want to make a claim? Well, then you better be able to handle a opposing point of view. If you cannot handle an opposing point of view, that tells me right there that, just like with everything I've been saying here, that your mind is closed, that you're relying upon emotional reasoning, not cognitive thinking. You live in a distorted reality because you cannot handle somebody thinking different than you. It's that simple. Millennialist Wicca has turned into this little safe zone of people who just want only happiness and sugarcoating. They shun anybody who uses trigger words like negativity. They want to say that things are white, but there's nothing black involved. That we shall harm none, but somehow we're just not going to talk about those plants that we just killed to eat. No, they don't count. They don't feel pain. But like I said, University of Missouri says they do. They do know when they are getting eaten. They have done tests to prove that. So what we must do is fix this. Like I said, last week I talked to an eclectic Wiccan on good old YouTube, and she was saying that she's an eclectic, but she's going to just do things her way. She's 20 years old. She was talking about spirit animals and your guardian. Well, not spirit animals, actually. She never said spirit animals. She said your spirit guides and your guardian angels. She classified them as one and the same. And when she was making all her talks, she was talking about how she's naturally endowed with certain skills. Nobody taught her, she taught herself, but she did have one friend to help her out. So we're having all of these self-taught Wiccan girls going around saying this is this, this is that. And when somebody like me tried to state facts, no, we don't need to listen to you. I mean, you only know what the hell you're talking about. So Millennial Wicca is invalid until they realize the error of their ways and they want to live in this world of emotional reasoning with their ideals that they can only have to deal with what they want, all that's positive and sugar-coated, then they don't need to be considered pagan. Wicca, unfortunately, like I said, for all these younger people, is an illusion, a delusion. And I'm not going to take it anymore. For all of you who do study a more balanced, more grayish form of paganism, be at peace. Take care of yourself.